Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Opinionated Idiot YouTube channel. I have to say, I'm a little bit nervous tonight. I haven't done a live stream in a long time. Give you a little bit of background about myself. I am not foreign to YouTube. I've had a monetized channel actually for about a year and a half now, but I kind of sabotaged myself on that channel. I used to be actually in the wristwatch business, and I started that channel kind of based off just doing wristwatch content, gained a lot of subscribers, and eventually became monetized on that channel. But through my journey of YouTube, I decided that I didn't want to do watch content anymore, and I wanted to do more of like a podcast style channel. I thought it was going to be smart and switch the content, and it just didn't work out. And I kind of created myself a dead channel. And believe it or not, I was going to stop YouTube altogether. Wasn't going to do it anymore. And I literally was on the last day of just kind of giving YouTube up altogether. And this name came in my head, Opinionated Idiot, the Opinionated Idiot. And I said, you know what? That's a great name for a channel. Let's start making some content, because I love performing. I love making videos, and I love interacting with audiences. It's just, it's been something I've always loved to do as I was a kid. But anyway, that's a little bit background on me. I haven't live streamed in a while. On my previous channel, I used to do a lot of live streaming over there. We did a live show every Sunday night at 9 p.m. And yeah, so here I am, free on a new channel, not monetized, just going through the YouTube algorithm and finding my way and gaining new subscribers and creating content for this channel. And I'm very excited to be doing that. So main purpose I wanted to do a show this evening was, obviously, we have a case that has gripped the country, that has gripped the world, with the four Moscow University students. Sorry, I'm a little nervous this evening. I haven't done a live stream in a while, and it's funny. As much as you prepare for live air and you come on live, when you start to kind of have all these thoughts coming through your head, like, don't screw up, don't say the wrong thing. So that's I'll start relaxing in a minute, but talking about this case that has gripped the nation, the Moscow students that have been murdered. And here we are. We actually now, almost 8 weeks later, we have a suspect. Bryan Christopher Kohberger has been arrested in relation to these stabbings. And this was the press conference the other day. And I want to pull that up. Just bear with me 1 second here. And I'm going to play a little bit of this press conference. If you did not see it, we'll go through it here.
Thank you for coming today. Last night, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, on a warrant for murders of Ethan, Zana, Madison, and Kaylee. I want to personally thank these agencies for their assistance in this case. Kohberger resides in Pullman, Washington, and is a graduate student at Washington State University.
So, as we found out now, as information is coming out, Kohberger was literally only 8 miles from the Moscow University. It's crazy to think that this person was so close and was living among this area of students this whole time. It was funny. I wanted to jump on, the day that he was arrested in connection to the murders, but I wanted to wait because I knew we weren't gonna get much from this initial press conference, and I wanted to see what the media could dig up, over these last couple of days. I knew more information, because that's the media's job. And it was funny when I listened to this live, I said immediately when the press conference ended, I said, those reporters, are going to immediately run out of that room and try to get in contact with anybody that knew Bryan in any way and try to get some kind of background. They were going to talk to friends. They were going to talk to family members. They were going to talk to neighbors, try to find out where he previously lived. How did he live? What was he like? Talk to students that he saw, on a daily basis, talk to classmates. So I wanted to wait and see what kind of information came out. And now we're starting to actually get a little bit more of a slew of information as to who, Bryan was. And it's been a lot. We're going to cover a lot of that this evening here in this live stream. So I'm going to play a little bit more of this if you haven't seen it.
We'll provide as much information as we can about the extradition to Idaho and the criminal process. However, due to Idaho state law, we are limited in what information we can release today until Kohberger has his initial appearance in Idaho court. I want to express
I can only imagine how nervous Police Chief Fry was doing this. It's like you've been tracking this person or people that committed this crime over the last 8 weeks. And, and I'm sure you went through many, many sleepless nights, and now you have this moment of breaking this case to the public. Like, we've caught someone in connection, connected by DNA. Now that we found out, connected by DNA. And it was confirmed through family genealogy. So accurate DNA. I mean, this is almost, I don't want to say an open and shut case, but it's pretty damn close. And it's going to be a very, very interesting trial, how this all unfolds. And I cannot wait to see the unsealed affidavit. What were all the steps that led up to catching and catching Bryan? Let's play through a little bit more of this.
My appreciation to our local community, the people of Idaho, and those throughout our nation who provided information to help us investigate these murders has been very impressive. We've received over 19,000 tips, and we've conducted over 300 interviews. To recap this case, on the evening of November 12th, Kaylee and Madison arrived home at about 1:56 a.m. after visiting a local bar and street food vendor.
You can almost hear the nervousness in his voice, just reading this.
Ethan and Xana were at the Sigma Chi house before arriving home around 1:45 a.m. The two surviving roommates had also been in the community but returned around 1 a.m. On the morning of November 13th, a 911 call was made at 11:58 a.m. reporting an unconscious person at the residence. The call came from inside the home from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. Moscow police responded and found 2 victims on the 2nd floor and 2 victims on the 3rd floor. On November 17th, autopsies were conducted and the Latah County coroner confirmed the identity of the 4 victims. The cause and manner of death was homicide by stabbing. Some had defensive wounds, and each had been stabbed multiple times. These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process. This was a very complex and extensive case. We had developed a clear picture over time, and we stand assured that the work is not done, but be assured the work is not done. This has just started.
So nervous.
Since November, we have remained laser focused on pursuing every lead in our pursuit of justice for the victims and their families. I recognize the frustration with the lack of information that's been released. However, providing any details in this criminal investigation might have tainted the upcoming criminal prosecution or alerted the suspect of our progress.
I'm sure, through this investigation, that they were almost chomping at the bit to give information out to the public, but they couldn't. They needed to secure this case. They needed to keep it close to their vest. They couldn't let anything out and just stick to the facts. And that's what I did. That's what I did in a lot, I would say a lot of the videos that I did, because I don't have a lot up, but the videos that I did do, what I wanted to do was specifically keep to facts, make sure that we were sticking to the facts. Put myself in any type of position to, name someone and say, no, I think it was this specific person to do it. You can't do that, because we were never privileged to the actual evidence in this case. But there's some interesting things that I want to go back to. I'm going to play just a little bit more of this, and then I may fast forward it to the Q&A session with reporters, and then I have a bunch of other information that a bunch of more articles and information I want to get to this evening. But I want to play through one of the videos that I made predictions on, that the specific person that they would be looking for in this case, and I was almost dead on. And I almost, laughed when they had this, when they arrested Bryan. I said, "Oh my God, this in this video that I made, it's almost dead on to what I said the person that did this."
Continue to provide as much information as we can as the process moves forward. Today, I want to specifically thank our dedicated Moscow Police Department detectives, patrol officers, the Idaho State detectives, the Idaho State troopers, and their crime lab technicians and scientists, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation for the resources and personnel to conduct this massive investigation. It was the dedication of them and the persistence and the numerous hours that led to an arrest. Fortunately, these highly skilled people worked together as a cohesive team to solve this case. I also want to thank our community and the nation. Over the past 6 weeks, I've been continually reminded of how much our community cares. Locally, public support has been exceptional, with kind words, food for investigators, and letters of support. You will never know how much your words of encouragement help us through these trying times. I appreciate each of you and each of your kindness. Agencies and individuals from across the nation have reached out to us to express their support to this department.
It's crazy, because I mean, I even look at it and I think that when Bryan was arrested and named as the key suspect in these murders, like, I have to be honest, I was almost a little bit emotional, like almost overtaken my emotion, because I've been so invested in this. Every day, everybody that I was coming in contact with, my colleagues at work, we're talking about this and speculating and reading articles and going through information. It's like, who could this be? And it literally gripped the entire country.
Reminded
World didn't
how our
grip the
Moscow
world.
community, our families, and the nation has been impacted by this daily. Finally, I do want to thank our media partners for the help. You kept this in the news. You helped us with tips. You kept things going, and we truly appreciate that. And you are the product of those 19,000 tips that we received, which is an impressive number. I would like to invite Bill Thompson, the county prosecutor, up at this time.
All right, I'm gonna skip forward and see if I can get to the Q&A and just play back some of that Q&A.
And everyone, as Prosecutor Bill Thompson, as I can.
And I think Police
Here
Chief Fry
in
basically
Idaho.
was saying, like, what he says previously to taking the Q&A is like, you're probably not going to get too much of us. We're not going to give you too much information to ruin the
Please
case.
formulate your questions accordingly. I recognize there are a lot of questions, and I will try to answer as many of them as I can.
Lauren Patterson, Northwest Public Broadcasting, Spokane Public Radio. I realize the records are sealed. I guess I'm not too familiar with how it works, but can you tell?
Yeah, you know what it probably is? I actually don't have headphones in, and I forgot to do that. It's probably my speakers are here, so it's picking up off the mic. Let me see if this is a little better for you. Just give me a moment. I tend not to try to wear headphones when I'm streaming, but if it's a problem, then let me pop these in. See if this works a little better for you. Thank you so much. And by the way, Samgana, thank you so much for subscribing over on Twitch. We are over on I am over on Twitch as well, and I appreciate you watching this evening. Let me see if this is a little bit better for you.
Tell us what tip, what lead,
Tell me
what
if
piece
that's
of
better.
evidence really led you all the way from Idaho to the suspect in Pennsylvania.
As I've said in the past, that's part of our investigation, and we won't be releasing that this time. We will have those answers. We'll have them as soon as we can make those available to you.
Then a quick follow-up and a two-parter. Is our community safe, or is law enforcement still on the search for other suspects who might be involved in this
Is
attack?
that better?
What I can tell you is we have an
No, I'm
individual
using
in custody who committed
Hang on a
these
second. No, I'm using StreamYard. Is that better? Is that better? Okay, cool. Awesome. Sorry about that, buddy. Thank you.
horrible
Appreciate that.
crimes, and I do believe our community is safe, but we still need to be vigilant, right? We still have talked about this in the past. We always need to be aware of our surroundings
good. I'm
and
good.
make sure that we're aware of what's going on.
Hi, Chief. How soon into the investigation did police and law enforcement begin to spot Mr. Kohberger as a
Thank you, buddy.
potential
Happy New Year to you
suspect?
too, man. Thank you.
And
I
a
appreciate that. I'll
follow-up,
give you a bell for
how
that
many
one. Thank
tips,
you.
if you can say,
Thank
were
you so much.
specifically related to Mr. Kohberger?
To the tip part, honestly, I can't answer that question, so I'm not even going to speculate on that. On the other part, that's part of our investigation, and it will come out. I'd like Mike to please come right over here.
If you're a
Thank
if you're a
you.
YouTube
Dana
user,
Griffin
you can
with
find me
NBC
over on
News.
YouTube.
Can you
the same
confirm that
name,
Kohberger asked whether or not
Opinionated Idiot. And what I'll do is I'll actually drop the link to my channel in the chat if you want to subscribe to me on YouTube. That's basically where my main hub is, over on YouTube, my budding YouTube channel. I don't know if you caught the beginning of the stream, but I'm very familiar with YouTube. I've had a YouTube channel monetized for a long time. I kind of created a dead channel and wanted to start something new here. So you can come over and subscribe there on YouTube. If you're a YouTube user, it'd be perfect.
anyone else had been arrested when he was in custody?
I cannot confirm that, or I'm not sure of that information, but that would still be a part of our investigation.
Did CODIS initially return any hits on this guy?
That's still part of our.
So CODIS, if everybody doesn't know what that is a DNA, what's the word I'm looking for? It's where they can submit DNA through and see if any type of matches come through that. And it's crazy that now that we have found out that he had been confirmed through family DNA, and that's where I want to read in the affidavit how they figured that out. The interesting thing is, and this is where I'm just purely speculating, this is an opinion, it could be an idiot opinion, but I wonder, and that's why I have some other things that I want to kind of play a scenario in here too, is that I wonder if Bryan is connected to any other types of crimes that happen in that area, and possibly this DNA that was submitted through this system has matched on other crimes. I'm not sure, because I don't know if they would, when they read this indictment, if they would include all that. Maybe they try him here and then another case comes up as he's in trial for this, and that's something that we're going to find out going forward. So some saying, let's make a deal, you grab a beer and I'll subscribe. I actually don't drink, but I have a water, and I'm sorry, buddy, I don't drink, but thank you. If you feel you want to subscribe, I would appreciate it. If not, no big deal, man. Thanks for just hanging out and watching this evening. So let's play through a little bit more of
Our
this
investigation that will come out. If we could get somebody over here, please.
And then one final question. Is there any message to the online sleuths who slandered and harassed people who they believed were responsible?
Sorry, buddy.
There was a lot of speculation going on, and we've always said from the very beginning that we're the official message that comes out, and to pay attention to what we're putting out there to the press.
I'm Nancy Liu with News Nation, and we were over at the house
Wow.
this morning, and you told us that
That's an interesting fact. It says clinking glasses with water is looked down upon across many cultures. It's believed that the act brings bad luck or even death upon the recipient. Oh, okay. And in some cases, death upon yourself. Well, that's not good. Uh, let's see. The U.S. military actually forbids it, with naval folklore claiming the toast to water will lead to death by drowning. Oh, all right. Well, how about I do this? I'm going to tip my cap to you this evening instead of clinking glasses. But
That the remediation would begin today. It was suddenly stopped. Can you tell us why?
Yes. The House.
yeah, so the house actually was funny. The morning of Friday the 30th, when Brian was arrested, Police Chief Fry, I believe the day before, made a announcement via the Moscow uh, police department's page that they were going to be over at King Road, cleaning the crime scene that day, and then literally after cleaning it, turning it back over to the possession of the owner of the house, of the property. That was scheduled to be cleaned on Friday morning. Then we find out Brian is arrested sometime, I believe, on Friday morning or early evening on late Thursday or early Friday morning. And you're going to hear Police Chief Fry say that the court actually stopped them from cleaning the residence, meaning there could be possible other clues or DNA in that crime scene that the court may sequester in this trial. So,
House cleanup has been halted, and that came by a legal request from the court.
Christina Corbin, Fox News. Chief, have you identified a motive? in this?
That is part of the investigation, and that will come out as we continue the investigation. But what we still ask is for people to continually send us things in the tip line. We are still looking for more information. We're still trying to build that picture, just like we have stated all along. We're putting all the pieces together, and that will help.
And I think that's just to keep tips flowing in. Maybe someone has another tip on, now that we know who was arrested for this crime is going to be prosecuted for this crime, to just maybe there's some other pieces of information that come out and help piece this story together, or like I said, maybe this is not the first time that he did this, and it kind of links him to something else or another crime that potentially could have happened.
Chief Veronica Miracle with CNN. Any indication that the suspect knew the victims?
That's part of the investigation as well. It won't be something that will come out at this point in time, but as we continue the investigation and as this case goes to trial, that will be brought forth.
Have you spoken to the families? Can you tell us what they've told you today?
Are you talking the victims' families? Yeah, we have reached out to the victim's family as we always do. We've done that daily, and we've continued to have contact with them.
Hey, Nate Sanford, you mentioned earlier that you're still seeking tips about Brian and that people should still share whatever information they have. Can you speak at all about what specifically people should be reaching out for, like if they know something?
I would say anything and everything. As we've said all along, we know what tips we're looking for. We will take those tips and we will have professionals look at those and decide which pieces of those we need to use for our case. So we ask that everybody would do that.
Angela Palermo, Idaho Statesman. Your department and other investigators on the case took a lot of flack for keeping information close to your chest. Are you glad that you did that? And were you worried about tipping the suspect off?
I will 100% stand behind the way that we handled this investigation. And this all started from day one with our patrol officers arriving on scene, locking down the scene, us calling in the Idaho State Police, us calling in the FBI, and keeping information that was pertinent to this case very, very tight. We want to have a situation where when this goes to trial, there is no doubt that we've done everything right and we've slowed down and we've continued to slow down. We'll continue to do that.
Hey, Chief, have you guys found the murder weapon or the Hyundai Elantra?
So we are still looking for all pieces of evidence, but we are still looking for the weapon. And I will say that we have found an Elantra.
Stephanie Becker with CNN. Can you tell what it was like when you got the phone call when the police told you that they had your suspect?
I can tell you, for a lot of law enforcement, it was a fairly sleepless couple of days as we were leading up to everything that we were doing. But what I can tell you is I have faith in those agencies across the nation. I have faith in our officers. I have faith in the FBI, and they did a great job. But sure, there
You guys
was
can take a moment and
times,
hit that
even
upvote button. I
throughout,
really would appreciate
the
it.
day
Helps get
that
this stream out, helps
we
push
were
this channel along in the
always concerned.
algorithm.
Hi,
I'm
Chief.
not going to
Deb.
play too much more of this because I'm sure that you guys have already seen it, but I did want to play through and just give you a little bit of commentary on it. If you haven't seen, there was another interview that Police Chief Fry actually did about a day after the initial report of the arrest. And I wanted to play some of that there. And it was kind of the first time that he spoke out since the initial announcement of Brian's arrest. Let's play through that.
Now been 24 hours since that name, Bryan Kohberger, has started making the rounds. You guys have publicized it. Are the tips coming in about him?
I can say that the one fact I do know is they told me an hour into us releasing the name, we had over 400 people calling in.
Wow.
So we continue to ask for that. We continue to ask for more. Every tip, everybody that knew him is only going to help us.
Are these tips from here, from everywhere?
I don't know where they came from. If it's any indicative of this case, they've come from all over, the nation.
Okay. Your ask about the white Elantra, that came on December 7th or so. Where in the timeline can you tell us did Kohberger come onto the radar?
So that's all part of those pieces that we have to hold until we can release information with the, after.
And that's like the information that everybody is chomping at. And like I said, I know, like I said, I was going to come on the night that the arrest was announced and stream, but I knew we weren't going to have that much information at that point. And, I was saying early in the stream that just give those reporters a couple of days and they're going to get out and start touching base with people, family members, students, people that lived next to Brian, people that came in contact with Brian, friends, then you'd start hearing really who this person was. So
after he gets to Idaho and the release of that,
this is what everybody is dying for, to see what is the case that they ultimately outline. We know, reading in through some articles now, that Brian stalked the girls for many days leading up because the cell phone was pinging off towers, the same towers theirs were. So we know he was in the area. We know he was stalking them. We know he was planning this.
Bound to hold that.
But how is that all going to come together?
Public information about that Elantra. You said the occupants of that car may have critical information, is plural. Was there a reason for that?
Well, it's part of our investigation. I said early on that we're not going to let any stone go unturned. And I meant that. And we're following up on everything, just like we're in this new phase now. And we're going to follow up to get to know who he is and everything about him that we can.
There are reports that the Elantra was followed across the country. Can you elaborate on that or speak to that? And also reports of DNA, his DNA at the murder scene.
All those facts are still sealed. They will come out. I know people are anxious for that. And
yes, we are.
We
want to know.
That, but in the time that we can give it. So I ask once again, just be patient. I know I've asked that a lot of times, but we are bound by the law now.
It's been reported, and we have sources who have told us that Kohberger asked, was anyone else arrested upon his arrest? Have you been able to gather information?
Do you guys think that there's more than one person, or do you think that it's just Brian that was involved in this? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Brian acted alone, or do you think that there are other people involved that they may or have not arrested yet and will be
About
arresting.
when he was taken into custody.
All that information will
Right now, my opinion is I think it's Bryan alone. And this is something that he has been planning. He wanted to kind of commit the perfect crime. And it's funny. And I'm gonna play a little bit of my video here in a bit. But it's funny. When I heard about this case and how there was no clues and no one was hearing anything and no one was seeing anything, I said it's like the perfect crime. And there's actually a movie that came out in the 2002 called Murder by Numbers, and I think it's a Sandra Bullock movie, and it's basically two high school students that go out to plan the perfect murder, and they go out, they murder someone, and then they try to get away with it basically. And it's kind of this cat and mouse game. Sandra Bullock is a lead detective on the case, and they're kind of playing cat and mouse. And from what I remember in the movie, and I may be wrong, I think they go to try to do another murder and end up screwing up and getting caught. So Perth Luxury saying when the guy was arrested, you should have put out the video with the song Moscow from Genghis Khan. But we'll keep playing through this here.
come out as well. It's part of that investigation.
I want to welcome everybody over to the channel this evening.
The,
Thank you for
car,
watching.
The white Elantra 2015, is it the car?
How are you,
Use
Perth?
the
How you
search
been?
number now for any more white Elantras.
I'm starting fresh, my friend.
Okay.
I'm starting
Is it
fresh.
in Pennsylvania then?
Yes.
Okay. And is it done being processed?
I don't know if it's done, but it will be processed.
Okay. As you know, I was over at Wazoo yesterday at Kohberger's apartment.
Oh boy.
As the search
Let me
warrant
get all
was
the
being executed, a lot of evidence coming out of there. Can you talk about, what might be valuable?
I think every piece is valuable. And I don't even know what was collected at this point in time. And that's part of that further investigation that we're going to hold. But I know that the search warrant was served there.
We know that the murder weapon has not been found. Is there suspicion that it could have been there?
We don't know. Like I said, we're collecting everything. We're doing our due diligence. And that's why we get these search warrants, so that everything is secured in the court, through the court system, and that we have the right to be where we're at.
You said in a local TV interview, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, that you're still waiting for forensics results to come back. When did they come back? And was that the missing link for Kohberger?
We're still waiting for stuff to come back. We're still looking at everything. We're still having things processed. And I couldn't verify that right now anyway. That's part of that sealed piece. But there's still items coming in from the lab.
From the murder scene?
Correct.
Okay, so the evidence we saw being gathered yesterday, that could take just as long.
That will be new information that we've collected, and we'll be processing that as well.
I asked you during the press conference yesterday about the house cleaning. I mean, you had said in your announcement that the house is going to be cleaned and turned back over to the management company. We watched those.
Yeah, and I think that changed the whole thing, because I think they were actually prepared to clean the house, and then the shock of arresting Bryan, and I'm sure once that happened, it was kind of like, all right, we need to lock down the scene again, because anything from the court they may request, so you have to seal that scene again. So I believe they were ready to clean this site. And the arrest of Bryan comes through, and it's like, holy shit, like we gotta lock everything down again, because we may have a potential case here against someone.
Trucks come in and then they pulled out of there real fast. What happened?
Like we said, we got a phone call that it was through the court that we needed to stop and give a little bit more time. So we did that. So
why was the decision made to release the house?
Well, at that point in time, we were ready to start that process. And then the court, like I said, someone from the court asked us to stop that process. So we did. And we'll continue to do as we're asked there, and we'll start the cleanup as soon as we can again.
Why would the court want that process stopped? Or
It could be many reasons. Could be for the defense counsel, could be that they just want to hold it for a little bit. But it was a decision from the court.
so it will remain under guard. Should we refer to it as an active crime scene?
It's still our crime scene at this point. So yeah, it'll still be
Still
under
active
security.
Okay. I think because of this community, it's a small community, is
terrible
a
camera work, by
factor
the way.
a jury pool in this community would be harder to gather with more information out there.
And that is one of the reasons that I stated that we are holding everything close and we're protecting the integrity of the case. We want unbiased individuals in this case. We want people to not know all the facts so that if there's a jury selected from here, that we can get that pool.
How hard would that be? Tell us a bit about, Moscow and how tight, because everybody knows everybody.
I'm not sure. We've had cases here before where they've been able to get a jury pool, but that happens with Bill Thompson and his team. So that would be a great question.
It's. I mean, you would think it would be incredibly tough to find a non-biased jury in that area, because this was so highly publicized and it's such a small area of the country. Wow, that jury selection is probably going to take a long time.
Yeah, which we're hoping.
She's almost kind of laughing too.
Okay,
the reporter.
Throughout the past 7 weeks, almost all these internets, so we've had Hoodie Guy, we've had the Jacks under suspicion, we've had a professor under suspicion. Did you guys actively investigate
You're not going to say
these
that.
things, and how distracting was that?
We investigated every piece of this investigation. We looked at everybody that.
I wouldn't even be surprised if you see this guy retire after this case is done. I mean, it looks like he hasn't slept in probably 10 years. I'm sure that the bag of emotions that he's gone through back and forth through this case has been
or
unreal.
not involved in any way that knew our victims. So we were very active in that, and through that investigation, that's where we get to the point where we can rule. It's as important to rule people out as it is to keep them in the investigation. So as we gathered information that was led us to believe that they were no longer a part of that.
By the way,
we
I have a
ruled them out.
huge.
The 911 call. Can we
I'll bring him up so
have
everybody
him
can see
speak?
him for the first time over
That will
here.
come as soon
Want
as,
to say hi to
uh,
everybody? This is
Bill
Mr.
Thompson and his
Jinx.
office feel that is available for the public.
When do you foresee the scene may never not be released? It's indefinite then. I mean, until it's
Say hi to everybody.
I suppose that could happen. There will be decisions made by people that are probably higher up than me that will need to make those decisions.
So
But
William
I
says,
suppose that is a possibility.
I'll pause the video so I can read this. William says, I think he acted alone if indeed it is Bryan. I'm waiting for more information to come out. It's possible he is innocent. Yes, and everybody is presumed innocent before they are, brought to court and convicted in a court of law. But we do have a lot of facts that we're finding out in this case, William, that there is a DNA match at the crime scene. So Bryan's DNA was matched at the crime scene. Just give me
Also
1
the
second.
house
I have
that
a
he has had to
rambunctious
stay on.
kitty
I
cat
heard
right
that
now. I'll be right
leaving the
back.
Furnace, and I mean, who is footing the bill for keeping the heat on?
Honestly, I don't have an answer to that question. I don't know if it's through the management, property management.
My
or
cat's
it's the
funny.
owner,
He
but someone is.
he'll
Um,
not do much,
I
but the minute I
noticed
go
in your
live and
video
start
the other
streaming, he's
day
gonna run
when
all
you
over
announced
the
the cleaning,
house.
I mean, you had a slight smile. You seemed a lot lighter. How are you feeling?
Right now, a lot lighter. A lot of people speculated on my facial expressions and stuff. I'm genuinely a pretty upbeat, happy individual. So I smile naturally a lot. I know a lot of people read into that. There was nothing to that. It was just probably me doing it naturally.
But do you feel like a weight's been lifted off
I'm
your
sure.
shoulders now that a suspect is in custody?
There always is. There's always that weight of knowing that you have a person in custody. And I think that gives a great relief to organization, gives a great relief to your community, and in this case, the state, the nation, and I think even the world.
There's a lot of criticism of the department throughout as you are holding so many details close to the vest. Do you feel vindicated? Do you feel, I guess, any pride?
What I feel is we did our job and we did it right. And we said from the beginning, we're going to protect the integrity of the case. We're going to continue to do it right. And we're not a prideful group. What we are is a group that we had a job to do. We did that. And we are happy that we did it the way we did it because of the outcome.
Yeah.
How hard was it to keep so many details close to the vest?
I think it's always hard. It's emotional at times. We want to give that information. We want to give the families some closure and give them information. We want to give our community, but it is so important to hold that information and keep it right where it was, so that when we made an arrest, and now as we continue further, there'll be more information that we're going to hold till the end, because we want to get a conviction.
Have you personally talked to the families?
I have personally. It's been a while, but I have talked.
What a terrible interview as far as the setup. Like, who? It's like you get people walking up on camera in the middle of an interview with this poor guy. You got the cameraman that's zooming in and out like a little while ago. Like, come on, have some professionalism here.
Throughout the first couple of weeks of this.
Okay, and can you tell us about those conversations? I mean,
what I wanted to reassure them is that we were going to do everything we could to bring justice for them, for our 4 victims, and for everybody that's involved. And we would try to answer any questions that we could through the process.
What do you have to say to the rest of America, to the rest of the world? I mean, after all the scrutiny that this department has been put through.
Yeah. I would challenge every police organization across the nation to know the importance, even with the pressures that are put on you, the importance of keeping the integrity of the case.
I gotta say though, I mean, I gotta give this guy a lot of credit. As much as the shit that he got, as much as Moscow got shit for not giving any clues or evidence, and everybody's just really chomping at the bit to hear, more, what was going on, what was the involvement in this case, who was it, let's catch him, is the case going to go cold? I mean, I even said at a point, I thought the case was going to go cold, but I have to say, through this entire time, and they had, I think it was Maddie's father or Kaylee's father going on and being very critical of Moscow police, and just saying like the investigation's not moving quick enough. And I have to say, this guy didn't crack once. He didn't crack once. He kind of remained this the way he is here in this interview through the entire process.
Solid. It's your job. It's what we sign on to do. We sign on to make sure that we do it right. And I challenge other departments to do that.
Early on in the case, you have children who've gone through college. These could have been your children. I mean,
yes.
You've been quite emotional about this case. Do you still feel that same raw emotion? Do you feel like you're really fighting this for these young people?
I think we always feel the emotion. I'm a fairly emotional individual. If you've been around me and you get to know me, I am that way because I care, and I care a lot. And a lot of us want to give the right answers and do it right, but it is difficult at times.
So the difficulty. Talk a bit about the
who the hell's walking in front of the camera?
In this department. I mean, even for you,
Jeez, man.
You need some time off. I mean, you've been in this for weeks on end.
Yeah, we are building a family here. We started that years ago, and we want you want to take care of your family. You want to make sure that they're healthy. So we have brought in counselors. I've talked to counselors. I have a great relationship with my wife, who I can, talk to about things, and we promote that. We want our officers to be healthy. We want our families to be healthy. We brought in counselors for the families as well, because we know that that it's a solid base. The family becomes a solid base for an officer, and they're the support system, and we want that to be helped.
So you're saying support for your officers' families?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. What is it about the case that, I mean, was it just the endless
Well, do
cycle
you
of,
see the
you
brutalness
can
of the
find things and get
crimes?
things and vet up these thousands of tips? What was it about the case that required counseling?
Well, I think there's a lot of things,
Williams says, I sense he is guilty. I expected a tougher character, maybe someone with a military background, but maybe he's experiencing killing before, like you said. Yeah, you know what? Let's get off this. And by the way, Police Chief Fry, amazing job through this entire investigation. I'm so glad that they have captured the alleged person that is in connection with this crime. But this is a great segue, William. And what I want to do is I made a video about 4 days ago, if you haven't watched it on my channel, and let's bring that up. And it was titled, I think the Moscow, Idaho 4 murderer could be a serial killer. And if you haven't watched that, I'm actually going to play through, some of the content that I thought. I have, let's see if I can get this to play. My thoughts 200 miles of each other. And this seems very base. Here are some of my thoughts to the particular person or people that did commit this crime. The suspect or suspects knew these girls. So let's stop there for a second. The interesting thing about this is now what we're finding out is that Bryan stalked these girls. He was in the area, in and around that area, and he stalked Kaylee and Maddie. And there's some information or a rumor out there, and I have not confirmed this yet. I was talking to a coworker today, and they said that Bryan, the interaction that they may have had with Maddie and Kaylee is that Bryan is vegan, and I believe Kaylee and Maddie worked at a vegan restaurant. Now, this is, again, this is not 100% confirmed. This is just through some conversation with a coworker. And they said they read something that Bryan had an interaction and saw the girls there first. Could be true, it could not be true. And maybe this is something that we find out when the affidavit is unsealed, hopefully in the next couple of days, so we can have that information. But that would be the first interaction supposedly with them. So if you look here, so the suspect knew these girls by watching or interacting with them before. That he was not a stranger. And they had been watching them for a while or interacted with them before. This is definitely not a stranger. The suspect that did this is very smart, and they did a significant amount of recon on the house. They methodically planned out this crime. They studied movements of the house, who came and went, and what times people came and left the home. So now that we're finding more out about Bryan, we're finding that he was a PhD student in criminology. He actually went on Reddit and was posting up surveys to try to get information from people that have been in jail. There's another article that I was reading today that he may have been in contact with the BTK killer and had a relationship with him and corresponded with him. So this is a lot of interesting things. And I think more of this information is going to come out as the days and weeks go on. But I'm like, when all this started coming out, I'm like, man, I almost nailed it. That this is the guy. This was the profile. The suspect came in on foot and made sure that the vehicle they drove was far away and out of reach of any cameras or people that could see it. And this definitely was a targeted attack. It definitely was a crime of rage or passion or to fulfill a fantasy. And now, when we think about this and we see this, to fulfill a fantasy, maybe he was trying to do the perfect crime. Maybe he wanted to be a serial killer. Maybe he was starting to become a serial killer. And again, I still speculate that he may be involved in other crimes. And there's something that I actually want to talk about here in a minute, and we'll get to that. But I want to just go through this video and finish it out as to if I say in this video, if I was an FBI profiler, this would be the person that I'm looking for. So now with all that known, so here I question, is this a serial killer? And it's almost like he had the beginnings of becoming a serial killer. With all that's gone on, with no one that has come forward, no one that has brought any new evidence in this case. Again, it's been 8 weeks since this crime has happened. Could we start thinking at this point, could it be a serial killer? If I was an FBI profiler, this is probably the suspect that I would be looking for. It's a large male with great strength. So we know he wasn't large. He was actually a smaller guy, but he was in his 20s, 28 years old. We found out that he was an extreme introvert, and we're finding out that he has been rejected by people around him. He was kind of the black sheep of the family. I'm almost like, when this all came down, I was like, yes, my profile is like correct of this guy. Outdoorsman, not really, but someone that likes to hunt and is very experienced with knives, and that could be the becoming that criminologist, taking psychology and wanting to know about all those types of things. He's definitely obsessed with killing. Would be in their 20s or 30s, an extreme introvert, someone that was bullied or rejected by women throughout their entire life. Check mark. This is definitely someone that spends a lot of time outdoors. Someone that likes to hunt. We'll do a half check mark on this one and is very experienced with knives. Someone that may be obsessed with killing, or they likely killed or attempted to kill before. And that's where I'm saying there could be a possibility that he's done this before. He may have done this. They may have an uncontrollable temper or have random bursts of energy and strength. And what we're finding out is there have been reports that Bryan has gone into restaurants and bars and harassed women, has made rude comments to them. So that would fall under, that uncontrollable temper or rage. And it's like, check mark, I nailed it. I nailed it. Yeah, that's a great point, William. He was overweight and he went to the gym and corrected it. Yeah. So, he may be stronger. And it's funny, sometimes the smaller guys, because they have that elasticity in their muscles. I know a little bit about like weightlifting, because I basically lifted weights since I was 20 years old. I'm in my 40s now. You're definitely true on that, man. Because some of the smaller guys sometimes are very, very, very strong. This guy had a lot of rage and a lot of strength. I think this person definitely abused alcohol and drugs. And the abuse of alcohol and drugs, we are finding out that Bryan did battle a heroin addiction. I believe that's something in an article his parents has confirmed. So check mark on that one. Thank you very much. And they have very obsessive compulsive personality, because the way that this was planned out. Check mark on that one too. Last detail. Now I know this has been an extremely frustrating case, a very frustrating case for the victims' families involved, the Moscow police, and the world, because the world has been watching. So basically that's going to sum up that video. And if you haven't seen it, I'm going to drop the link to that one. You can go over and click over and watch that. If you want to watch that after this live stream, I would appreciate it. But again, when I started, all of the information came out and the profile, and I saw this person. Now that we're learning about him, like, yes, like I totally almost perfectly nailed who this person was. So anyway, we'll move on from that. So another thing that I wanted to bring up this evening was there was a lot of rumors about this potential crime spree that happened in this area in and around Moscow. And let me just open up the screen a little bit more. I'm going to shrink down a little bit so I can widen the article. So it was an article that was put out on November 25th, and it talks about Sandra Ladd and these 3 unsolved murders with an eerie similarities to the Ohio killings that emerged amid this investigation. So there were 2 people that were murdered. You had Sandra Ladd and the other name, Travis, and I think it's Jetten or Jutin, that was killed within about a year of each other. And they were eerie similar to the Ohio murders. And I'm going to pull up a map here in a minute. I actually did some mapping out before I went live today. But let me just read a little bit of this article for you guys. So it says Moscow, Idaho, a third fatal stabbing that had uncanny similarities to the unsolved killings of the 4 university students had surfaced as investigators continue to hunt for the killer suspect in the quadruple murder. At a news conference on Wednesday, November 23rd, journalists questioned Moscow police about a potential link between the student killing and the murder of Travis, and I don't want to butcher his last name, I'm so sorry, during which his wife, Jamelia, was critically injured in Oregon. And sorry about that if I butchered your name. According to authorities on August 13, 2021, at about 3 a.m., very ironic that it was about the same time as the Ohio 4, a burglar attacked the couple as they slept in their home. Juten, 26, resisted, but he eventually died from his wounds. His wife, now 26, managed to survive despite being stabbed 19 times as per. We're looking at every avenue. We have other agencies reaching out to us with other cases, stuff that are going on and following up. Moscow Police Chief James Fry said during a press conference. He said his office knew about the case and was looking into an alleged similarity, but no official connection has been made between the 2 cases. And then there was a third attack in 2020 that is very similar to these as well. The Ohio Tribune reported that a third attack had a similar profile. According to Oregon Crime Stoppers, Sandra Ladd, 71, was discovered dead in her Washington home on June 14, 2020. The medical examiner discovered many stab wounds in her torso, leading the police to declare her death a homicide at the time. The 2 incidents took place. They were only 70 miles apart and 14 months in between. The location is about a 5-hour trip from Moscow, Idaho. This is extremely interesting. And then it says on November, obviously we know this crime, November 13th, between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. So it's like all of these coincidences, and they could just be a coincidence. But knowing all that, what I did was, and let me pull this map up really quick. Knowing all that, let me hit sorry, just give me a second here. Let's see. This is going to work. Okay. So we have a map. We have our map here. You have Sandra and this is where she was here in Washington on 6/20, murdered. You have Travis in Oregon on 8/21. Bryan was staying here. Now, I don't know what his length of time that he was there, but I would say, obviously, if he's doing teaching semesters at the school in Washington, he would be still in that area within, a year, 14 months, a year and a half. And then you have the Moscow murders here on 11/22. So it's interesting. I'm going to be very curious if he's linked to any of that. Did any of his DNA come through? Was any of his DNA found on this? And again, it's still open to debate that he could be potentially involved in one of these crimes as well. So remains to be seen. I know something that I'm going to continue to research and look up on, but it does throw up some kind of red flags, knowing how close this all is. I mean, it's probably all within a 5 or 6 hour drive of the connection where all of this is. So I found that to be very interesting in this case. But anyway, we're coming up here on an hour. I don't want to go too much longer here. It's about 10 p.m. here on the East Coast. And I definitely wanted to just thank everybody this evening for hanging out with me. This is my first official stream here on the Opinionated Idiot channel. I've done live streams before, like I said, on my previous channel. So live streaming is not, I've kind of kind of old, what they say, old hat for me. But I want to do more of these eventually. We're going to let the channel grow a little bit more. Hopefully these streams can get out into the algorithm and start gaining some more subscribers and creating more content that you guys like over here. So the best thing to do is please interact on these videos, give them thumbs up, comment, be interactive in the chat, because this helps this channel along and helps me, allows me to build the content that you want to see. So with that being said, I am the Opinionated Idiot, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Have a great night and Happy New Year. Thanks. Bye.